Good afternoon. My name is Carol Gieske. I'm president of the Elgin Area Chamber, and so pleased that you could join us today for the State of the County Address, the first annual of many we hope that will be in the future with us. It's been wonderful working with my colleagues in the chambers up and down the Fox River Valley, as we have been doing since we started through this pandemic. So thanks to Geneva, St. Charles, Huntley, Bartlett, Hampshire, Batavia, Northern Kane County, for working with us on today's event. We will continue to have people joining us. We are recording this and we'll make this available to all of our local chambers of commerce for them to be able to distribute to their members as well. Before I introduce today's presenter, please just a couple of notes. Keep yourself muted at this point in time. If you have a question, we appreciate you putting it into the chat box, and at the end of the presentation, we'll go ahead and we will ask the questions for you. It is my pleasure now to introduce Madam Chair of the Kane County Board, Corinne Pierog. Thank you so much, Corinne, for joining us, or Madam Chair for joining us. We appreciate your time with us. This is an opportunity, an informal opportunity, to have a chance to hear from her in her first few months of leadership with the county, and we are so pleased to be able to support you up and down the Fox River Valley in our chambers of commerce. So thank you today, Madam Chair, for your time, and we appreciate your opportunity to talk with our area chambers of commerce. And I turned the program over to you at this point in time.
Well, thank you so much, Carol, for the generous introduction. And thank you, everybody. I have to say that I look forward to future presentations, but I do look forward to having those in person. So perhaps next year we will be able to join together so that I can truly get a chance to meet all of you, to speak with all of you, and just to get faces and names together. And please, my office is open to you. You know where I work. I'm on the third floor. So please, if you have any concerns or suggestions for a better government, a better Kane County, do not hesitate to contact me. And I look forward to those future conversations so that we can together best plan for what the needs of Kane County are for the next 5 years, let's say. So I took office in December, and during that period of time, I entered into an unusual time because we were in the middle of a pandemic. The county was shutting down. People were growing increasingly concerned about their health, the safety, and definitely about the economy. On top of all of that, to face just that would be quite a hurdle to get over. But we're also now, as you're going to soon hear, we're in the process of redistricting. So what does that mean for our county? And I can't deal with the state, but we certainly can deal with the county. So those are two issues that have been on my desk that I've been trying to pay as much attention to as possible. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing with our COVID relief later on in the presentation. The PowerPoint I have to share was put together by a collection of our department heads. I reached out to them, and what I have found out that we have got the most extraordinary staff here at Kane County. I hear this constant conversation, not to trust government, but I have to say in fullness that Kane County government and its staff is, I cannot work with better staff. And I think that we all need to congratulate all of them for all of their hard work with these, what I'm about to ready to present to you. So this is none of my work. We've gone through the editing, but it is the presentation of all of our department heads with some editing, of course, on our part. So I'd like to talk a little bit about our key financial indicators. As I go through my notes here, Kane County has maintained a beautifully structured and balanced budget over the past few years. You can see this on this graph. And the reason why is that Kane County doesn't use any reserves. They have very much controlled spending, And we spend actually less than what we take in. But we're not overtaxing you, and we'll show that in the next couple of slides. So it's not that we're taking any additional money that we don't need. What happens is that these reserves are then best transferred to our capital projects and our building funds so that we can continue to develop and build the needs for Kane County. We also has historically have not used debt as in the state of Illinois, as we well know, uses debt payments to pay for their operational expenses. So that is something that Kane County has not done. It's a very conservative and well-steward approach to running the county. Next slide. As I mentioned, when I first came on, we were in the midst of administering money that had come from the federal government, and this is the CARES Act fund. We received $92.9 million, and it was allocated in the following manners. We gave it $27.5 million to our municipalities, $23 million to county payroll reimbursements for dedicated response to our pandemic, $9.3 million went to our small business grants, $9.2 million went to our health department services, $8 million went to county capital improvements and equipment. That was like generators, air conditioning, other things to help mitigate the necessary needs to operate in the pandemic and to go future forward with those issues. $5 million to our fire protection districts, $4.8 million to county services and supplies, $3 million to our not-for-profits, particularly our social service agencies, $1.6 million to our townships, our park districts, our forest preserves, and our library districts. And I cannot call out and congratulate our library districts for their hard work. Not only were they acting as an opportunity for Wi-Fi for students to actually sit in parking lots or to be given opportunities to take Wi-Fi connectivity back to their homes. They were also passing out books, and in some cases are actually passing out food to our students and our families. So they went above and beyond, and to be congratulated. A little under $0.7 million to our performance, visual arts, and amusement parks. Cultural entertainment and entertainment is very important here for Kane County, and we didn't want to lose their capacity to survive during incredibly difficult times. And I think all of you may be aware that that is travel and entertainment was one of the hardest hit areas during the COVID crisis. Travel crashed and no one went to the theater anymore. And no one went to entertainment venues. So they were completely decimated during this period of time. $0.7 million was to county administrative expenses. And then $100,000 was given to our historical societies and museums, once again, to help them shore up their expenses and their lost revenue. We have just been recently awarded, matter of fact, some of the money actually just arrived today, which we're excited about, to go to our next level of funding, and that is with the American Rescue Plan. Things that we can work with together, and I'd like to reach out to all of you, as I spoke about earlier. We're going to be going through a series of town halls talking about the American Rescue Plan. The town halls are going to be taking place throughout the county, and they're going to be taking place in June. Those conversations are specifically for reaching out to the community to ask businesses, members of our community, not-for-profit organizations, how we can best spend this money. I know that each one of the cities and townships have also gotten their fair share. And I do believe that there are partnership opportunities that we can work together to collaborate our limited resources to have the biggest impact upon the needs here of Kane County. And some of those things I'd like to highlight. I apologize for the smallness of that type, but you can enlarge it on your computers. Support the public health response. This is going to be an ongoing effort that we're going to be having right now, of course, with COVID and moving forward. Part of that is our mental health initiatives. And we all know that mental health has been impacted here in Kane County as throughout the United States. So these are issues that we together need to address. The other one, especially in our older communities, water and sewer infrastructure. We also need to talk about our aquifers and how we're going to best manage good water stewardship going forward for the next 10, 30, 40 years to make sure that we have enough water to supply the needs of our growing communities. Equity-focused services to make sure that we actually do a deep dive into communities that have not been appropriately served. Does that mean Wi-Fi? Potential? Does that mean job opportunities? Absolutely. How about fair and equitable housing that's well maintained, that makes it a comfortable place to live? These are issues that we can work on together. Address our negative impacts. I want to make sure that our businesses survive. You are the heartbeat of our economy. Our small businesses and our growing manufacturing business and our distribution centers are the continued heartbeat to provide good, equitable employment for our communities. I cannot tell you as a previous small business owner how important small businesses are. And I want to make sure that they are well supported, not just financially, but together we can work to develop mentoring programs for them, to be able to give them best practices. And that's something we can collaborate with. And again, I mentioned that before, broadband infrastructure. Oftentimes, we tell our children, put down your computer, we're sick of computers, I don't want to work with your computer anymore. But take a look at what we've just said. The computer is becoming, it's not the want anymore, it is the need. It is the new telephone, it is the way we communicate. And we have got to ensure as a county that we have free and adequate access to Wi-Fi, no matter where you live and no matter what your economic earning power is. Every child, every adult needs to have equitable access to Wi-Fi in your home, make it available and make it accessible. So that's something I believe, and I don't think anybody can argue with, especially with our small businesses, who many of them actually, as I did, had my small business work from my home office. And many of our students will continue doing educational programming, both at the kindergarten, preschool level, all the way up to graduate school level, working at home and using their Wi-Fi at home. So we have to make sure that we have a robust system here in Kane County, and that is something we can work on together. So I look forward to getting your input on that as we do the town halls, to hear what your main concerns are, so we can narrow and focus all of that down, because there'll be many asks, limited resources, and how to best steward those appropriately. So our financial goals going forward is, once again, I want to make sure that we have significant outreach to our women, minority, and veteran-owned businesses and our locally owned businesses. And that includes being able to do business with the county. So I think that's very important, and I know that some of your municipalities are also working on those efforts. We want to make sure that we continue to maintain a structurally balanced budget, and I can proudly see that we have a AA+ bond rating, which is quite good. We have the administration of the $104 million of American Rescue Plan funding. As you may know, that it's going to be coming in 2 tiers. We just received the first payment as of today, and 1 year from now, we will be receiving the second one. And that money has to be expended by 2025. So we can do, we've got some time to think about it, to do it well. We don't have to act quickly, so that we can make good use of those resources. And again, it's a one-time shot, so let's do the best job we can with that money. And now it's time to start even thinking, because it's going to be starting to be our budget discussion here at the county, of what other opportunities are going to be available for us in order to fund necessary and needed services. Are we going to expand our programs and services to reach out to our county? And is that a need? What additional personnel is going to be needed to adequately support our existing programs? We're going to be taking a deep dive into what our salaries look like as compared to other counties. And that'll be a discussion that I'll look forward to asking some of you, again, your assistance with, to get community partners to help lead that discussion. We also want to make sure that, again, we're going to improve our salaries and wages. by that compensation studies and how we can afford to do that. Because of our low tax rate, we have been stable for a period of time, which I'm about to show you, but increases have happened. So we've not been able to fulfill as many of our openings as our job openings as we have available right now because of limited resources to do so. And the last one is going to be a cost of service study. We're going to adjust our user fees accordingly. That means we're going to do a study on, let's say you want to get a marriage license, what the actual cost for the county is to prepare that marriage license and to appropriately either increase or decrease the cost of getting that marriage license. So that's our next study that we're going to be doing. So here we go, property taxes. Everyone loves to talk about property taxes. As you can see by this graph, and I'll put my glasses on for this one, it has remained steady since 2012. So what is that, 9 years now? It has remained exactly the same amount as it was in 2012, our rate. Basically what we're doing is you are paying for every dollar, 5 cents for the county's services. And as we go through our slides, the services that we provide are wide and diverse. Over those years from 2015 through 2021, the tax base has grown about 36%. The CPI urban is what we base that on over that period of time, has grown 10.25%. But our tax levy has remained at 5 cents. That's again a nickel on the dollar for the tax rate. So that has remained flat, and you can take a look at that curve, how it's going up. So these are things we're going to be taking a look at in the future, but I thought it would be an appropriate place for you to take a look at. And I would challenge any of you to take a look at what your school districts, your townships, and your municipalities, and do you have that flat line? I think most of you, especially our school districts, as much as we love our schools and want to make sure that they're well provided for and well funded, that line has increased dramatically during that period of time. And here we are. Here's our redistricting. Now, Kane County's population projections. I thought you'd be like to see this graph. Every 10 years, we go through our redistricting based on the census data. And we also take a look at long-term planning based on the increase of this population growth. So we're looking at 2050 at being about 800,000. We're looking at a 43% increase in Kane County's population, I believe, by 2040. That's a significant increase. Most of that increase is going to be happening up in the northern corridor because of 90. So that is something that I know a lot of you have been, if you haven't talked about it, you are going to be talking about in the future of how you're going to handle that growth. Not only that growth and its effect upon schools, but on your transportation, on your infrastructure needs, on your water needs. How are you going to best manage that? So these are things we're looking at as well. Here's a comparison of how we are, according to CMAP, of our largest counties. And we are the 5th largest county in the Collard counties. And take a look at 2015, we were 530,848 people. And again, the projection. So I think this will give you an opportunity to take a look. Please use this slide. It's a projection, but it's pretty accurate projection so that we can take a look at where we are as we're looking at the needs of 2030, 2040, et cetera. Next slide is our demographics. What we have seen, and because of the delay in the census data, we won't get the actual data until September. That we'll be able to really do a deep dive and to see what by block census data report of how our communities have changed. But it is an estimate that our minority population has significantly grown here in Kane County. Over 30% of the members of our community are Hispanic. And that has, again, increased dramatically and expected to increase dramatically. Why is that important? Again, that's small business development. Many of the members of the Hispanic community are strong supporters of individual businesses, and they do a very successful job at it. So these are things that we want, again, support and look at and see how we can assist them in that growth, because they bring such richness to our economy. The next one is our demographics on how, whoops, went back one more. Thank you. Of our representatives, as we're looking at going through the remapping process, and we're going to have a meeting tomorrow at 3:30. The redistricting committee is going to be meeting. If you'd like to sign on, it'll be broadcast via Zoom, so you can listen to what we're going to be talking about. You know, if you have any comments, public comment is welcomed, necessary, and needed. And we will be going out to the communities starting next week, doing a series of town halls throughout Kane County, again, to listen and to gain input from our residents. To take a look at what's going on by your area up in the Elgin, I would draw your attention to number 17, Deborah Allen, which her district right now, her current district, the way it has been drawn from 2010, right now is at 17% minority, or I'm sorry, 63% minority. And that's pretty significant. Cheryl Strathman, number 20, is 64% minority. And Jared Sanchez up in Carpentersville area is at 70% minority. And what we're looking at is anybody who's about over any district that's at about 60% minority would be considered a protected district. And we're going to make sure that those districts are drawn looking at our Voting Rights Act to make sure that minority populations are kept together, that they're not displaced, so that going forward, members of discrete populations have a right and an ability to influence an election cycle. And that's part of the Voting Rights Act, because they are considered protected by that Voting Rights Act. The next slide is about the reapportionments and redistricting. We did create a task force that is made up of both community members as well as our board members. We have significant and I support bipartisan representation. I'm the very first Democrat elected to this seat, and I'm very honored to have earned that opportunity. But my role here is not to speak as a Democrat, but is to speak as the county chair. And I realize that both Democrats and Republicans' voices need to be heard, supported, and welcomed. So I'm trying to take as much as I possibly can a bipartisan approach to leadership, making sure that every committee we have represents equity of political thought, hopefully equity in location of residents where our committee members serve, and also diversity. So I'm trying very hard to maintain this and have certainly supported this with our redistricting committee. We've hired a demographer who's a Democrat, and we've hired a legal expert who's a Republican. Again, a sense of very strong balance. The problem we're having, though, you may have read about this in the paper, is because the census data has been delayed, and we will not get it actually until, as I mentioned before, till September. We're using American Survey data, which gives a broad brushstroke of what the communities look like as far as the demographics. But it's the only data we have. It's what the data the state of Illinois is using. So what we're hoping to do is to put together, because we have to, because of state law, we have to have a map supported by and voted upon and approved by July 13th. And that map will be brought to the county board at the end of June. We're asking for the opportunity then to redraw the map once we get the census data in September, to refine it, to make sure it's completely appropriate to represent block by block data on what those minority populations look like. So there's going to be some adjusting. We're going to give it our best approach. That's where we've got a really top of the line demographer working on this for us, as well as our attorney who also has the opportunity and has the ability to draw maps as well. So we've got experts in the field looking at how we're going to be drawing the map to make sure that it's fair and balanced. But once we get the actual data, the authentic data, then we can fine tune it appropriately. So that's going to be our approach as we go forward. And they have made a vote because we have to find out how many, get the number of players in the game so we can know how to redistrict. The board did vote that they would like to keep the same amount of board members as they had, 24. It was reduced several years ago under Karen McConaughey, down from 26 to 24. That conversation was had and the board voted to keep it the same because they want to have a richness of representation. So can't argue with that. So that'll be, we have 24 board members. Next slide is going to be about our development, and that takes a broad range of all the different things we need to look at in Kane County. We are one of the few counties, and I think almost one of the only counties, and I could be corrected, but definitely one of the few counties that has a farmland protection program. And that is something that provides for open space and supports our farmers so that this farmland will be permanently protected for farming. Kane County is blessed with some of the richest soil in the country. And the richest soil in the country. And every time we put a development, a housing development, and a farm piece of acreage of farmland goes down, we lose a bit of that. So this was developed to protect our farms so that we continue to have this ability and this beauty that Kane County has between urban, suburban, and rural and farm community. And that is certainly one of the reasons where 20 some odd years ago I moved here. And I think many of you enjoy that as well. There's nothing more beautiful than driving out in the fall and seeing those corn stalks at about 8 feet tall. It's majestic. And that is something we hope to protect. The next one is going to be our fabulous Fox Water Trail, the river trail. This has not been enacted yet, and we're still working on this process, and we're hoping to get, hopefully we'll get some money from the federal government to help support this effort. In Kane County, we have 40 miles of Fox River. We've got public access sites, but if you take a look at the map, 8.8 million people live within 50 miles of our waterway. Now, if you remember back, many of us none of us were born during that period of time, but certainly some of you may have had grandparents or parents who lived here during that time when the Fox River was not only an industrial area, but it was certainly part of a recreational area that people would come from Chicago to summer here. Al Capone, all of that. I'm sure we've heard all of those stories. Well, the river is cleaner now, thanks to many of your efforts. And we want to make sure that that river is not only kept clean, but also now to be developed as a recreational site. This will allow people from surrounding counties, even surrounding states, to come here as a vacation location, to be able to canoe, to be able to kayak down the river, to be able to stop, let's say in Elgin, and stop at an ice cream store, maybe spend the night at one of your hotels or going to see one of your concerts. All of this opportunity is going to be part of this Fox River Trail. And we hope that going forward, we'll let you know its developments. But this is something that I think we can find of incredible interest there. It's an economic powerhouse if we can get this done. So we're looking forward to continue working on these efforts. Every one of our river towns are going to be benefiting from this. Now, going back to our agriculture and economic impacts, that's one of the reasons we have to protect our agriculture. Look at the amount of money it's bringing into our communities. The commodity sales, and some of these sales are not just staying here in the United States, they're going abroad as well to China, and overseas. Look at the assets of the farming, just the farm machinery, $139 million. $26 million in an economy for jobs. Total farm, I think that's about how many people are employed here at Kane County. So I think it's pretty equitable to that. The sales per farm, almost $300,000. And the net income, $32,000. So it's a significant part of our economy that we cannot negate, and we have to continue to support. I can't think of anybody here who doesn't like going to any of our farmers markets and ask for the locally sourced food. There's nothing like having a fresh tomato in your hand and saying, knowing that it came from Campton or Elburn or Maple Park. And I think we all agree to that. Now, countywide economic development is another effort that we're putting through. We're looking at developing a countywide economic development council. And we're just starting on and this is a brand new initiative, and it's going to take us about a year to put this together. But once again, we'll be reaching out to all of you. And I think some of you have already had the conversation to get some research. This will be an overarching economic development that will support the work of your cities and your individual economic development councils. This will allow the opportunity to work regionally and together collaboratively in bringing businesses and industry here to Kane County and to work with each other. And I'll give you an example. Up in Huntley, they're having distribution centers that are opening up right now. And Amazon is going to have a parking lot filled with 800 trucks. Wonderful. I mean, we all shop now online, and it's a growing industry. Out of those people, we're going to have roads that are going to have to be supported, both private roads and county roads, municipal roads and county roads, because of the onset of traffic that'll be going back and forth to work. Now, with those potential 800 additional new employees, just the truck drivers alone, because we know that's a finite number, will they be needing additional restaurants? Will they be needing different places to stay? How can we work collaboratively with it? Will some of the people who are hired there who are management, will they be looking for housing? Will they be looking for schools for their families? So these are things that we can work with together collaboratively with an economic development council. We are the only county in the collar counties that does not have an economic development council on a countywide basis. So we're taking a look at it. We're doing deep dives into the process of it, and you'll be hearing more about that in the next few months. The Office of Community Reinvestment is something that I worked on before I even got elected with equitable housing. What it does is allows our businesses to find workers, trained workers, especially in this time of high employment opportunities. We want to make sure that you have trained employees coming in to work for you. And this is something that this office can provide, working with you to get this done. We provide career counseling and job training, employment placement. And we work both with youth, disadvantaged youth, as well as adults and dislocated workers of different age brackets. We work with the workforce areas in Northeast Illinois, so we work with a number of other counties, and we support regional initiatives in manufacturing and apprenticeships, and we work very closely with our 2 junior colleges. The other things that we have the opportunity of doing, and things that I was actually involved with for many years, was developing affordable housing efforts. And here's the highlights of the work that has been done. Chelsea Commons Senior Housing Development in Sugar Grove, one of the highest needs we have here in Kane County, because we've got about 20% of our population is over 65 and aging, is we want to make sure that we have affordable housing. And I'm not talking about subsidized housing. I'm talking about affordable senior housing for our seniors so they can live and grow grow well, age well in the communities that they have grown to live in, going to their churches, their stores, their book clubs, their libraries. We want to keep our seniors in our community and not force them to move out, because that adds richness to our communities. They have redeveloped compromised housing that has not been taken care of in certain communities, and resold them at an affordable market rate. Affordable, meaning maybe anywhere from $160,000 to $250,000 for a home, which is affordable for a family, a working family. Finance the redevelopment of the Elgin's historic Larkin Center, 1212 Larkin. I did a tour of that last week, and I can't tell you, and I cannot commend the city of Elgin for putting this together and supporting this. This is the most extraordinary development of this site. And if you hadn't had a chance to tour it, I would suggest that you do, even if you just drive by and take a look at these beautiful new buildings that have been developed. Absolutely striking. Any of us would be happy and proud to live in any of those apartments. Reconstructed infrastructure in 6 Kane County neighborhoods. And we also now are starting to develop, since we've just got the money and it has been announced, that we're working with $31 million in emergency rental assistance program. What will this will do is that we have a number of apartments, both small owners who may be renting the upstairs of a 2-flat or a 3-flat, using that money to support themselves with, or larger apartment complexes whose residents have been delayed on paying their rent. This will allow the landlords to apply for up to $25,000 to get rent relief. So this is an extraordinary opportunity. And if any of you are landlords, or if you know landlords, or if you'd like to support it through your network, just let us know, and we'll make sure that if you don't have the information already, that we get this to you. What's unique about this is, you notice the $31 million. I want to spend every dime of that. Every dime of that is needed. And what we've been told is that if we are good stewards here in Kane County of that resource, if other counties don't use their money, it'll go back to the general pool and we may get additional support. So that's why it's so important. I've never had the opportunity to say, let's spend $31 million and we have to get it spent by August. So again, please, if you need help in getting that information, just let me know, and we'll make sure that we get you the right contact information so that you can support it through your own network. Now, IT. We put on, you notice the flags, we put out a call since we were having so many Zoom meetings. And it was hard to do a pledge of allegiance to the flag because no one could see the flag. So I asked our students to draw pictures of flags. So we have many different flags that were done by our elementary school students, and each one is as delightful as the other. They certainly are worth taking a look at. Infrastructure and technology is the heart. So important, so critical to doing business, both in the private sector as well as in the public sector. But the public sector support and infrastructure can help out the private sector. So what we do assists you and will continue to assist you. So what we have done over this period of time is $3 million of investments in infrastructure improvements. I have our director of IT here, so he can explain to me one more time. What is VPN?
The virtual private networks.
The virtual private networks, which allows remote access for 1,000 users. The new servers for processing and for memory, and these are located in West Chicago. If any of you need additional server support, we have the capacity to provide that for you, both in the small business and certainly with our municipalities. So I want to say that again, if you need additional support from your servers, we have the growing capacity to help you out with that. And that's simply good government. We are going to build it to scale for future business demands and the Internet of Things, meaning almost everything that the future growth of Wi-Fi and internet. And we also have peer with Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. I'm not an IT person, but certainly, again, if you know what this is and you need the support, I'm going to say honestly, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. This is a little bit too technical for me, but it sounds like this is something that's critically important for all of you. Now, the Kane Fiber Network, we have got 60 miles of fiber infrastructure. We have fiber connections to all of our county buildings, and we have also fiber connections to Aurora, Elgin, St. Charles, Geneva. We hook up from Montgomery all the way to Algonquin, but we're not done yet. That needs to increase. We have the regional fiber connectivity to the commercial data center in West Chicago, which I mentioned previously, and it can continue to grow. We have the capacity for large growth with that center. We've just put on in 2021 the new multi-use building, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. And we also have an SBA Edge data center, and that's being launched in 2021 as well. And we're going to expand and extending our fiber network. And this is something that we can talk about and partner with the American Recovery Plan money. So when I was talking about partnership, once again, these are things that we can collaborate with to make sure that both out west in the rural areas, as well as in our urban areas, that if anybody needs Wi-Fi, we can work together to make sure that that is in every household, at every business that is needed, and that it's affordable and robust network, so it doesn't go down, which is very important. The next is the health department. Oh my gosh, God bless the health department. They have done yeoman's work. Our team is out there, especially in the height of the pandemic, working 7 days a week, week after week after week. They are now down to 5 days a week with our mass vac sites, but they are going to continue going out to our communities. Long days, long hours, and they are really to be commended to doing everything they can to make sure that all of our residents here in Kane County are safe. The governor has just allowed the CDC, as you well know, that 12-year-old to 15-year-olds now are able and eligible to get the vaccine. This is the 2-shot vaccine, so that's available. We're going to be reaching out to our school districts to have clinics there if they so wish. It is not mandated, but we encourage everyone to get the vaccine to make sure that we have a very safe county so that we can all open up our restaurants, our theaters, our businesses, and not to have to wear a mask. So we don't have to worry about infecting each other. And this to me is very important. So we got our first vaccines on December 16th. And the pictures that you see the little white box? That's actually the vaccine. That to me was a miracle here in Kane County when that arrived. Our mass vac site, first one opened up in Batavia, and that has been a great success. And that opened up on March 18th. This venue has been so successful that it has been used as a model for the rest of the counties in Illinois as a training model of effectiveness. We worked with Illinois Department of Public Health. We worked with the National Guard, as well as with our Kane County Health Department, IT, and facilities to put together such an extraordinary place. So it has served Kane County well, and I want to put a shout out to the city of Batavia because they generously offered to pay for the electricity and any of the utility for this building. And I think it's about $15,000 a month is what they're supporting. And this building will be opened up until the end of October. So thank you to the city of Batavia for that support. We want to make sure that it's accessible and available to all of our residents. Again, it's at no cost. So we opened up other hubs throughout the county. We have one in Aurora. We just opened up one in Carpentersville and in Elgin. We're also going to be going on the road because we realize that some people are still hesitant for some reason. They may find it inconvenient to get to it. So not only going to our schools, we're also going to actually take vaccines out on the road. We're going to have one in Maple Park and other communities in the future to bring a mobile vac site to address more needs for people, to make it as convenient as possible, to make sure that anybody who wants to get the vaccine can get the vaccine. We've launched, we're having a big marketing campaign that's going out. And when I say marketing, I'm sure many of you think it's advertising to sell a product. What I have to say about this is educational. So I'm going to call it marketing because indeed it is, but it's educational outreach. So this is a copy of what our promotion is going to look like. This is our posters, and we have a bilingual handouts that we're going to be doing, bilingual posters. And we're reaching out through volunteers and other providers to our churches, communities, restaurants. You may see one if you go to a ladies' room at a bar in St. Charles. It may be hanging up on the door in the stall. Encouraging everybody to get the vaccine if they'd like. So here's the data. Remember, we have 540,000 people here in Kane County. That's how many people right now are fully vaccinated. And you can see 52.8% of 16 to 64-year-olds have at least one vaccine, and 84.7% of our residents of 65 and over had at least one shot. You need two, unless it's the Johnson & Johnson, and all of that data will be coming forward in the next, about the next week. We've just been able to receive all of that data from the state of Illinois, because we have private providers and Walgreens, for instance, as well as our hospitals are also giving vaccines. So we've finally been able to collect all that data. So we'll have a better understanding of what communities via zip code are still fully vaccinated or need for us to go to that deep dive to reach out specifically to those zip code areas to encourage getting the vaccine. Environmental and water resources. I mentioned a little bit before about water use, and this to me is something very important. When I was campaigning, I was talking about Kane County's water, and it's projected by a study that was done by CMAP that our water is going to start being compromised on the western part of Kane County by 2030, meaning some of our wells are going to be drying up. When I did this presentation and I spoke about that in Aurora, a business owner said, so that's not something that you really should talk about, Corinne, because no one wants to know about that. You turn the faucet on and the water comes out. And I went, well, yeah, that's true. But not for long in some communities. And in some communities, they've had to, private wells, they've had to drill down to about 500 feet to get water. We've heard about what's happening in Will County, where they have critical water shortages, and that aquifer that they're drawing their water from happens to be also in Kane County. It's one wonderful thing about Mother Nature. It doesn't care about counties or districts. It just does what it wants to do, and the waters, we share the water. So we have to become very good stewards of our water and knowing exactly where our water is, so that going forward, we can make sure that our water is pure and healthy to use and also well managed. So this is something that is being done very effectively by our water resource projects. Recycling and sustainability. What I'd like to bring your attention to is point number 2, so that it's a circular economy, just like our water could possibly be, that when we use a resource, that it is recycled and repurposed, so that we don't have landfill wastes, so that our resources are continually repurposed for us. And I think that's something we can all support. We all want to make sure that we have clean air, that we have clean water, that we have a wonderful place for our children and our grandchildren to survive and to grow strong. And by doing that, we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to be stewards of that in our own small way. We can't take care of the world. We can take care of Elgin. We can take care of Carpentersville, we can take care of Batavia, we can take care of St. Charles. We can help with that. We can take care of ourselves. Division of Transportation. Oh my gosh, Department of Transportation rocks. They do so much incredible work. I think we can all agree that when road construction happens and we have to be in it, we all grumble. And let's all admit that we do. Oh my gosh, is there a detour on this? But once it's done and we get done complaining about the delays in the road, we all celebrate its accomplishments. And this is something that road construction does. So here's some of the things that they've been worked on. We have Randall Road at US 20, interchange improvements, Randall Road at Silver Glen to North County line. Long Meadow Parkway is just about done. I'm so excited about that opportunity. Fabian Parkway at Kirk Road intersection, that's been reconstructed. And Burlington Road at Balcom Road, the roundabouts. And you're going to see more and more roundabouts here in Kane County. They're safe, they're effective, and they're fun to drive. I'm getting used to them. The paratransit program, the ride in Kane has been a great asset to many of our community members who don't have cars, who need to have that support with transportation. I also have to give a shout out to PACE. They've been incredibly generous helping us out with our mass back sites. So for no cost, people can call if the resident needs a ride. They have given us their vans. Again, just full support so that we can use their resources to provide adequate transportation back and forth for people to get a vaccination. So we provide 90,000 rides a year for our seniors and our disabled. And we're looking at discussions to administer the program through 2022 to improve the customer experience. And what I continue to hear from particularly our seniors and sometimes people who have disabilities is that they can only go so far. And sometimes they want to go further on the ride. So these are things that we can work with, and that's working with our townships to see how we can support that in the future. Future projects that are going on. The Bliss, Main, and Fabian realignment. I've seen signs because I live right off of Main Street in Batavia that the road is going to be closed up ahead. I don't usually go that far west, but at least they're going to be working on this. And we have reached out and have been accepted for potential grants that are coming through some of our congresspeople, and that is under Lauren Underwood's district. So we're looking forward to hopefully getting $7 million from her earmark to support that area. Randall Road at I-90. We know that that is a very busy intersection. It's something that many of us drive quite frequently, and we want to make sure that we have adequate improved access to that corridor for our growing and truly growing manufacturing and industrial services and businesses through that. So that is such a large intersection, and a keen attention is being paid to that area. Randall at Hops Road, realignment from that S curve. You can see what that looks like. And there's going to be an improvement in their signals and future grade separation at the rail crossing as well. And Sean Caston has asked for this opportunity, and hopefully we'll be getting $5 million from his earmarks to support funding that, that road improvement. Now, building management. Oh my goodness sakes. Kane County is blessed, and we're sitting in the government center on the 3rd floor. This is a wonderful building. It's an old building. It's an old building. It has its charm, great windows that open, lots of nice light, but it has needs, as older buildings usually do. You either got to love them or you go, so anybody who has an old house knows that it's a money pit. I'm not saying that this is a money pit, but let's just say needs some money. So we're working on being able to take a look at what our needs are here on this main campus to support these beautiful old buildings and see what we can do to make them safe, because it's a different environment right now, to make sure that they're environmentally effective as well. But we just opened up our brand new building, and just happened a couple of weeks ago. It's the coroner's office. Now, previously, speaking of old buildings, the coroner's office was in the campus of, when this was a monastery, the laundry room. Truly. It was a small, very little area, and which supported for many, many years the coroner. It was not effective at all. So we knew that we needed a new facility. And that was met with long and lengthy discussion by previous boards. And finally, it was opened up. And if you haven't had a chance, it's a place that you don't ever want to go see. Should I say, you don't want to ever go visit because of the circumstances of that. But if you can take a look at it, at what it truly is a state-of-the-art facility that will offer great dignity and respect and honor of the people here of Kane County who are unfortunate to have to go there. So it is a beautiful facility, and we could not be more proud of it. It also houses equipment for the sheriff's office and for our roads, so that the buildings, the equipment, which is very expensive, can stay enclosed rather than being out into the environment with the rain and hail and snow. And it is our first building that was built since 2008. So that's the state of the county. We got a lot going on. When I was running for office, people would look at me and they'd scratch their head and they say, so what does the county do? And we haven't even talked to you about judicial and the sheriff's department yet. So that's a whole other conversation. So the county does an awful lot. We do an awful lot for our nickel on your dollar, and we appreciate your support.
Madam Chairman, thank you so much for that comprehensive presentation on the state of the county. It's very impressive, and your leadership just since December has made a vast difference to our business community. Pardon me. I want to thank my colleagues. We are right at 2 o'clock, and so unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have time for questions, but I want to thank my colleagues up and down the Fox River Valley and our chambers of commerce, because we have worked together very, very closely to work with the county, especially on the allocation of funds being available to the business community. We've worked hard to talk with our constituents throughout the entire Fox River Valley. So Melissa from Northern Kane County, Margaret is here, Batavia, Paula with Geneva. I see Larry is here with Huntley, and Jamie was here with Algonquin Lake in the Hills. Any questions from you folks before we end today?
No, very thorough, and thank you very much for your time and presentation. It's appreciated.
Oh, thank you.
All right, well, thanks to all of them. This is a joint effort between all of our chambers of commerce, and we are pleased to be able to continue conversation with the business community relative to issues and items that are important to you in your daily delivery of services up and down the Fox River Valley. Thank you again, Madam Chair, for joining us. We look forward to doing this in person, as you said at the very beginning, as we move forward out of coronavirus. We stand ready on behalf of all of our chambers to assist you with spending that, what was it, 100 and how many, 120, 108 million or something?
Yes, 100. It'll be 100 and what is it? $102 million.
102 million. Well, we stand ready to assist you.
Good. And
Good.
we are willing and able to do so.
Oh, excellent. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, folks. Again, this will be, we have recorded this and this will be sent to the area chambers, and each of us will be able to post it on our websites and share it with those who were unable to join us today. Thank you for your time, folks. And again, Madam Chair, thank you for your presentation. We appreciate it. Have a good day.
Bye-bye, everybody.